Hello, and welcome back to the Partner Selection and Marriage online lecture. We will continue on talking about finding a relationship partner. First, I'd like you to watch another video link, The Science of Sex Appeal, What Women Find Attractive. This video clip demonstrates how the marriage gradient is also connected to attractiveness. This clip shows you what women often find attractive, how things like status, higher income, lucrative jobs, or fancy cars can impact women's perceptions related to a man's physical attractiveness and his desirability as a partner. So this fits well with the marriage gradient by demonstrating what women might be looking for in a mate. Please pause this video now, and remember you can find the link to this video on Canvas, or you may search for it on YouTube. We will now talk about some personal qualities of potential partners. So physical attractiveness is important at early stages of the relationship, especially in attracting someone or being attracted to someone. Knowing certain things about a partner or a potential partner can make them seem more or less attractive. As you just watched in the Science of Sex Appeal video, women value high status, and that can impact how attractive they rate men. There is also something called the halo effect. This is when we tend to attribute positive qualities to more attractive individuals. Attractiveness may be influenced by several specific traits. For example, someone that is perceived as attractive, due in part to physical traits, may be more likely to be perceived as kind or intelligent. The role of attractiveness in producing the halo effect has been illustrated through a number of studies. For example, some studies have revealed that attractiveness may affect perceptions tied to life success and personality, or trustworthiness and friendliness. People perceived as being more attractive were more likely to be perceived as successful, having a great personality, being trustworthy and friendly. So, being attractive can afford you with certain benefits and advantages, with others assuming you have additional good qualities. As shown in the clip, status can also influence how attractive you appear to others as well. So having a higher status can impact how attractive you are perceived to be as well. A cross-cultural study surveyed 10,000 men and women from 37 countries to identify the most desired traits in a potential mate. The preferences for the top 4 characteristics preferred by both men and women were mutual attraction or love, having a dependable character, emotional stability or maturity, so being composed or able to withstand minor setbacks, and having a pleasing disposition, so being kind, sweet, and lovable. So again, the top 4 characteristics preferred by men and women were mutual attraction or love, dependable character, emotional stability or maturity, and pleasing disposition. Similar to the video clip you just watched, there were also some gender differences found. Men favored good looks, and women favored ambition or economic potential. It's important to note that there are also cultural differences, as Knox and Schacht discussed. For example, in some cultures there are other traits that people prefer. In China, filial piety, or respect and care for your parents, was another highly valued trait that wasn't ranked as high in the United States. Now we will talk about intercultural or interracial dating and marriage. The frequency of occurrence of these intercultural or interracial dating and marriage actually vary by group. A growing percentage of American marriages are interracial or interethnic. A 2017 Pew Research Center report detailed that a record of about 17% of all new marriages that occurred in the United States in 2015 were between spouses of a different race or ethnicity. So 17% of all new marriages in the U.S. in 2015 were interracial or interethnic. This statistic increased dramatically from 3% in 1967 when the U.S. Supreme Court legalized interracial marriages. Among all newlyweds in 2015, 11% of white newlyweds, 18% of black newlyweds, 27% of Hispanic newlyweds, and 29% of Asian newlyweds married outside of their ethnic group. When looking at all married couples in 2015, regardless of when they married, so not just the newlyweds, the share of intermarriages reached a record of 10%. In 1980, that share was just 3.2% of all marriages. So in 2015, a record of 10% of all marriages were intermarriages. There are also gender variations. These trends are gendered, and gendered patterns in intermarriage vary widely across ethnic groups. About 24% of all black male newlyweds in 2015 married outside of their race, compared with just 12% of black female newlyweds. So black males tend to marry outside of their race more than black females. Among Asians, the gender pattern runs the other way. About 36% of Asian female newlyweds married outside their race in 2010, compared with just 21% of Asian male newlyweds. So Asian women tend to marry outside of their race more than Asian men. Intermarriage rates among white and Hispanic newlyweds, however, do not vary by gender. We also see regional differences in the United States. Intermarriage in the U.S. tends to tilt west. About 1 in 5 of all newlyweds in western states married someone of a different race or ethnicity between 2008 and 2010. So 22% of all newlyweds in western states married someone of a different race or ethnicity between 2008 and 2010. This is compared with 14% in the South, 13% in the Northeast, and 11% in the Midwest. At the state level, more than 4 in 10, or 42% of newlyweds in Hawaii between 2008 and 2010 were intermarried. The other states with an intermarriage rate of 20% or higher were all west of the Mississippi River. 18% of individuals living in metropolitan areas are married to someone outside their race or ethnicity, compared to only 11% of those living in non-metropolitan areas. Although this finding also has ethnic differences. Whites are more likely to intermarry in metropolitan areas, but Hispanics and Asians are more likely if they live in non-metro areas. Of newlyweds today, spouses comprised of one Hispanic and one white spouse are the most common married couple union currently, which accounts for about 42% of intermarriages. This is followed by unions of Asian and white spouses, accounting for 15%, white and multiracial unions accounting for 12%, and white and black marital unions accounting for 11% of interracial marriages. So again, marriages comprised of one Hispanic spouse and one white spouse are the most common couple union currently. There are also cultural and societal effects on freedom versus constraints. For most of United States history, a majority of states had laws that made it illegal for whites and non-whites to marry. Many states repealed these laws after World War II, and the Supreme Court declared such laws unconstitutional in 1967. Attitudes regarding interracial and interethnic marriages are becoming more supportive as well. In 2017, the Pew Research Center reported that 39% of adults agree that marrying someone of a different race is good for society as a whole, which is up from 24% in 2010. When this is parsed out by gender, 43% of men and 34% of women believe intermarriages are good for society. This can also be parsed out by political party, with nearly half of Democrats believing this and only 28% of Republicans. So who is most likely to marry outside their racial or ethnic group? This is important, so I do recommend taking notes here. Those that are most likely to marry outside their racial or ethnic group are individuals who attended college, those that were born in the U.S. as opposed to another country, those that are in their early 30s, individuals who have been previously married, those who live in urban areas, and those who live west of the Mississippi. Also, individuals who marry outside of their ethnic groups describe themselves as more self-confident, autonomous, and immune to what others may think. So again, those that are most likely to marry outside of their racial or ethnic group are those that attended college, were born in the United States, are in their early 30s, who have been previously married, who live in urban areas, and who live west of the Mississippi River. In terms of the success of these relationships, currently, racially and ethnically mixed couples are more likely, on average, to get divorced than those couples of similar ethnic backgrounds. However, as interracial and interethnic marriages become more common, we expect this trend to be reduced. The story about increased likelihood for divorce about interracial or interethnic married couples is really about the extent to which couples are similar and different in additional domains that affect relationships. I will talk more about these factors that contribute to marital success among interracial couples in part 3 of this lecture. But before I end this part of the lecture, I want to pose a question for you to be thinking about. What are some of the factors that create challenges, and what factors better support interracial unions? So this is end of part 2 of this partner selection and marriage lecture. Please continue on to part 3.